I continue to read Deuteronomy, and a question comes up: where was the man? In reading Deuteronomy 22, I was thrust into John 8, because in Deuteronomy 22 speaks about sexual immorality, and the accountability did not fall on the woman alone, it fell on both persons. But in John 8, when we meet Jesus with the woman who is caught in adultery, the woman alone is brought before him. And we have to also remember that it required 2 or 3 witnesses. Same thing as Deuteronomy. You had to have witnesses because the witness was required to cast the stone. The story said, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone. Nobody could throw a stone. One by one, the record says they walked away. But note, Jesus didn't say that adultery was acceptable. He eventually said, go and sin no more. In other words, the problem was not that God's standard had disappeared. The problem was that people were trying to apply God's standard selectively. And we still do that today. We expose one person and protect another. We condemn the person we like and make excuses for the one that we favor. And sometimes we use righteousness as a weapon instead of a standard. That must first examine us. Here's the lesson. If truth is only applied to the people you want punished, it is no longer righteous judgment. The woman stood before Jesus that day, but so did the witnesses. And before you pick up somebody else's case, make sure you are prepared for God to examine yours. But that raised another question for me. If in ancient Israel, the prescription for some of these offenses, why didn't Paul tell the Corinthian church to stone anybody? Because if you recall, there was another sexual immorality that took place in Corinth. Stay tuned for part 2. Be encouraged. Trust the next chapter of your life.